not doing Q&A, by the way.
Sure. Until we do Q&A.
Oh, is this, we're live. Hello. Let's wait a second to see how people show up. So this is how you look at home, usually?
It certainly is how I look at home.
Is it?
No.
What are those glasses? Ray-Bans, or what they call
These are
those?
polarized Ray-Ban
Can I see
aviators. Yeah. Carbon fiber, no less.
I've never owned a pair of sunglasses.
What? You don't care about your eyes?
What would I need?
UV, like, destroys your lenses, dude.
Scott doesn't go outside.
No, that's true.
Does UV destroy your lenses?
Sure. That's what I tell myself. That's why I wear sunglasses.
Even blue light on our tablets and our phones
Doesn't it hurt when you like go outside and the sun is blaring into your eyes? Oh, God.
You can see less when they're on.
Well, we are inside.
Oh.
You're supposed to go out in bright places.
And those are polarized, so they kind of block light from the screen. They're not particularly.
It makes the screen go like this.
Turn your head, like rotate your head side to side like this. No, this way. Like this. They're polarized.
Oh,
so it'll change.
They look fine like this.
Yes.
They'll kill reflections outside, so they'll.
So wait a second. Polarized means vertical?
So polarized means it filters the light of one wavelength in one direction. And so if you take two polarized lenses and you overlap them like that, it goes completely black. So all of your phones and things have a polarized layer on top of them, which is how they get rid of glare. So if you look at your iPhone with those glasses, often you won't be able to see your iPhone. It'll just be black. You've got to rotate it left and right.
Because it's polarized as well.
It's interesting. It's blue like this.
Yes.
And it looks like the nighttime.
Yes.
Like efflux, like this.
Yeah. So it's filtering different wavelengths of light.
Yeah.
It makes glare and reflections.
I still have no interest in
strange little piece of tech. You know the Kindle Fire phone?
Yeah.
It was one of the first consumer phones to have some weird rotate, like circular polarization, so that it didn't matter what way you look at the glasses, it always looked fine.
Is that bothered Bezos?
Apparently, it bothers me when I look at my phone. I have to do this.
I've never had that problem because I never wear
sunglasses. The coolest thing he showed me is he showed me the Nintendo 3D XL.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the 3Ds have had the 3D effect, but now the XL has a camera that actually watches you.
Yes, and
it automatically adapts, and so it is so much better than the other ones.
Pretty cool.
It works so good.
Where's my Nintendo? Oh, here it is. People are wondering why we're not starting yet. We've started, by the way.
Is there 100 people yet?
115.
Oh, that's usually our threshold.
We're live. Thank you for that. Yeah. I'm playing Shovel Knight. All right. This is greatest purchase.
Yeah.
Super fun. All right. Hey, everyone. It is the ASP.NET.
There's no more tech for Scott, right?
No more tech.
So mean.
No
You're
tech.
not a nice.
Never buys devices.
You're not a nice man, sir. All right. Let's pretend like this never happened.
Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Put your sunglasses on because you look
sorry.
disinterested.
Yeah, I can go to sleep now.
We are live in sunny Orlando, Florida. You can tell by the exit sign. We are deep in the bowels of some building, the Swan Hotel, and there's no sun. We are in the speaker room, and the only other person here is Shane, whose beard is looking fantastic, I must say. I don't know if the Wi-Fi is working, so I will ask someone to check Twitter. I'm going to check Twitter.
That's you, Shane.
Because all of this could be bad. All right. So we don't have time to do a Q&A. We just got off stage. He's got his nice .NET shirt on. Where can people buy that shirt?
They talked to Beth Mess.
Can we even sell it? Is it like,
No,
so they can't sell it because
it's not licensed.
it's star conflict related?
Yes.
Okay. We have no way to sell you this unlicensed shirt.
If it turns up on Cafe Press after someone takes a photo of it, then I wouldn't be.
Nice. So, Damien, why are you dressed casually?
Me? Because I was going to go outside and sit in the sun. I'm at a resort, and I lost my Sunday traveling from Seattle, so I'm having my Sunday now, although you dragged me into this, so thank you.
You don't have to be here.
No, it's fine. I love the community.
But yesterday Damien did an all-day workshop on ASP.NET Core and .NET Core to a bunch of folks here.
That's true. You are working harder than we are.
I am, and I'm flying out, going back home tomorrow at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Well, then get out of here.
And the most exciting thing about the training session yesterday was right as we're getting ready to leave Seattle, the dev team was able to give us the first tooling build we've had since November.
So to be clear, this laptop here has a build of RC2 tooling.
Yes.
It'll be different than the one that they're going to get whenever they get it in some number of weeks from now. But I installed this on the airplane. True story. I actually tethered my phone.
Did you just like use a measure of time along with something about RC2?
Yes.
Is that what I heard?
Well, he said some number of weeks
Okay.
in the talk today that it would be available.
I said some number of weeks yesterday off the
We
record.
both did. We
Off the record,
Off
you
the
said?
record. When I closed all the
Are we on the
laptops in the
record?
room and I said off the record.
There is, once again, I think Damien and I will tell you the exact same
Will
answer.
it be out before Doom comes
So
out?
here's the way we look at this. We just got a build from the team.
Yeah, like
First
seriously,
first
I
build.
was actually taking off in the airplane, downloading it off of my tethered phone,
Yes.
holding the phone out the window, trying to get.
They were promising us a build on Friday, and Damien's like shaking his head, and I'm like, no, what's going to happen? And then we get an email Saturday morning saying that build's ready, come get it. But let's be honest, what's going to happen now is a bunch of folks inside Microsoft are going to start
We'll
using
break
the build.
it.
And I already broke it.
I already broke it.
We've already both broke it.
Yeah.
And we're going to spin the bugs up on this thing, and it'll take weeks to spin the bugs back down again
To an acceptable level.
to an acceptable level. And when we find that we're at the right level of spinning that back down, that's when we'll ship this thing to the customer.
So I have a number in mind.
Of
And
bugs.
Of weeks that I think it'll take. before
We all want to just put our number on a piece of paper and slide it across the table?
We could all
I know his number because I shared it
I know what
yesterday.
his number is. I
My
know what my
number
number
is
is.
3.
My number is twice that.
And,
6.
and my number, which you heard today, was 4 weeks.
So somewhere between 4.
3 and 6 weeks.
3 and 6
3 to
weeks.
6
It's not going
weeks.
to be 3 weeks. I can guarantee you.
It will be at least 3 weeks, is what I would say.
Okay, so why is this significant? This is an important thing to point out. We talk about this when we talk about ASP.NET. There's the runtime, the non-UI portion of ASP.NET, and you, audience, have been able to keep up on daily builds of RC2 and for a long, long time.
Yep.
What's significant, though, is that there's ASP.NET and then there's ASP.NET tooling, which is the UI that plugs into Visual Studio that allows you to go file a new project. And
By the way, the tooling is
debug.
more than just ASP.NET tooling. This is if you want to build class libraries on .NET Core,
Right.
you want to build
All-
console applications on .NET
Because we're
Core.
not just ASP.NET.
This is really .NET Core tooling, is what this really is, which
Right.
encompasses everything, including the web.
Adding references, hitting F5, successfully debugging, all that.
Xproj, Project JSON, publishing.
IS.
So when we say a tooling build, that's what we're talking about.
But in the weeks you guys have talked before, when we have no idea about a date, this is the first time that we actually crossed a milestone,
Mhm.
and now we can actually start thinking there's a drop-down date which will happen. So you asked me like last week, remember you're on the phone with me,
Yeah.
Damien, and you're like, I don't understand
That was a
why
little
we don't
sad.
have a date, and we were like both saying the same thing, is until we get a build, we can't
Because
even.
is it true that having a build also confirms that the merging of the two teams is happened? We have continuous integration that's working smoothly. If you can
Yes.
spin one build, you can spin builds every day.
It also means we have an installer because, I mean, unfortunately, building reliable installers is one of the hardest parts of what we do, especially when you have to push stuff into Visual Studio. The installers that just let you get the CLI SDK are pretty simple. You just have to put stuff on the hard drive and add something to the
In a
path.
simple folder.
Whereas the VS installers and the tooling in VS, as everyone probably understands, is far more complicated. And we're actually updating the existing ASP.NET tooling that's in Visual Studio. It's a new build, it's not side by side. And so because of the way the editors work and the project system works, it is actually an update to the stuff that's in the box. And so there's high compat paths, we have to make sure we don't break stuff, yada, 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 yada. So
You saw in the build as well, we changed when file new. It now shows .NET Core applications and ASP.NET applications, which is the 4X applications, and it showed .NET ASP.NET Core on Windows,
Right.
what did it say, desktop is what it said?
I think so, yeah.
We'll see. But what, and also it's worth pointing out that when you do file a new project on this particular build, it's going to look rough. There's going to be names that aren't right. And
This build, yes, the one
This
you're
build
talking
here,
about,
the one
yeah.
you'll get will be nice.
For example, I saw today, I was doing a scaffolding of a controller and it said MVC6 controller.
Yeah. So
Well, we don't have an MVC6,
Stuff will
so
be wrong,
Yep.
but can we show them that?
yeah, bring it up.
All right. So let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, that's, Google Hands didn't work. Bear with me. Let's see if this works. Entire screen share.
That's cool.
Okay, it is cool. All right. So, I just got Day of the Tentacle.
Oh, the reboot one?
Remastered.
Is it good?
That's
It
good.
is really good.
You should get it for the kids. Okay.
Maybe I mentioned before.
Okay.
Is that after it?
So I can go File, New Project,
Notice
and
there'll
you'll
be a-
notice here we've got Web App, which is ASP.NET that we know and love.
Yep.
ASP.NET Core Web App, and then in this case, it's called ASP.NET Core Web App on .NET Framework. That's basically the full
But
framework.
also look at this below. in the-
Underneath here, you got .NET Core, which has got your console app, .NET Core,
Right.
which
Yep.
we would have called the ASP.NET console app pre-DNX.
Yes,
in DNX world, yes.
Right, and then when you hit .NET Core, you can see that ASP.NET Core web application is there as well. This icon is, what is this icon? It's just a random icon. It's not the standard. That's that weird circle-y one that we saw before.
That's a new one that was being designed, I think, explicitly.
I don't know if we're gonna have a.
The globe is meant to be a web. It's meant to represent the web.
We've had
It's always had-
variants of the globe in past versions of Visual Studio as well.
I think he's talking about the
Yeah.
little circle-y circle thing there. I don't know if that's gonna be, I don't know if that'll live much longer.
We can work with
I
Jonathan
love the
Wall.
feedback we get from Hanson.
No,
It's good.
there isn't a .NET logo,
There
No,
isn't-
no, we can
don't
make an
have a
icon for
logo like that.
projects.
so we can't have the
We
circle.
can, oh yeah, we can have icons.
Uh,
You just can't go put it on the .NET web, the ASP.NET website and say, this is the ASP.NET logo, or
Right.
this is the .NET
Yeah.
logo.
the problem with that logo is it's a biscuit away from Eclipse. which
Oh,
is-
really?
Which is a circle within a circle, eclipsing each
Fair
other.
enough, fair enough.
I'm glad you love my feedback.
No, I do. I love it very much. Very much. That's great.
I don't believe you.
Someone has to give the feedback about the icon as the first bit of feedback they give.
It's the first thing I saw.
It's funny because he was actually complaining about something this morning to me, and
This
I'm
is
like,
so mean to me.
we have so many bigger problems right now than the icon.
Right.
But-
So Damien and I are going to look at. I
It's
agree.
end
with
to
you.
end. My job is the end to end.
It is. It's good.
We agree, and we need
So
you to be able to give us
It's
that
easy to
feedback.
tease you about it. So
It is because I inevitably take the bait,
Yes,
but you're still mean.
I know.
You know, Hanselman's like, my God, the icon, and Damien and I are like, well, the debugger doesn't work. What's the icon?
So mean, so mean. All right, so I'm gonna hit OK. Oh, here we go. Cannot access a disposed object. So there you go.
Nice.
That happened when the existing project
Yep.
got unloaded.
Yep.
So something bad happened there. Pay no attention to that. This notice here, because we said new core app, there's no MVC checkboxes.
Right.
This dialogue will change. We've actually, in our talk,
We
today,
showed some of the
we
comps.
showed some of the comps for the
That will
PDFs and
change in
stuff. like that.
RTM. That's not
In
just
RTM,
for us.
correct.
Yeah. Like it will be polished in RTM. It will not be polished in RC2. The point is to be able to go and say new project.
It will just work in RC2.
And then it crashed.
Oh, nice.
So that worked out. So enjoy.
Obviously, you tried this before.
No, I did.
No, I think
I-
I think you've got VS into an odd state.
What happened, the reason that
you
this thing died was that I had an existing project, hit file new, and something got sick.
Mhm.
So,
as we said, pretty rough right now.
yeah, no question. I tried Skyrim on this machine too. Worked pretty well. This is the Surface Book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
those old man icons that are like, 6 feet tall.
Picking on my old man icons.
People are saying the stream is very clear.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's
We're on
not.
Wi-Fi.
Better than when we're
Given the
on
potato
Corp,
stream that
Microsoft.
That does not surprise me that it's better on Corp now.
Oh, then they're complaining it's not clear anymore. So
Oh, for crying out loud.
Shane must have started downloading something.
Yeah, don't
I
download
see
anything.
streaming video going over there on.
I can't help it. I'm popular on Twitter.
He's so popular on Twitter, it's
Yeah.
collapsing the network.
Okay.
All right, so over here, see it says restoring packages. I hit output. This is the .NET CLI doing that work,
Mhm.
correct? So this is .NET restore happening,
Yep.
okay? Now, what is this warning about Newtonsoft?
So that's because the version of JSON.NET that it's pulling in,
Yeah, Isn't-
is that a downgrade warning? or is that
it's a
typing warning?
Newtonsoft is not compatible with this
Right.
TPM.
And
So it's a
oh, you shouldn't be getting that error. That's
It
No,
says
it shouldn't, yeah. I think-
7.0, but
so
it
the
still
problem
runs
is
though.
He has 2 CLIs on his machine, and I'm not sure which one the tooling is
So
pulling.
which version of JSON.NET is it complaining about?
7.01.
Okay, so that should be 8. That's half the reason. And then in your project JSON file that was actually produced, there should be an import statement under the frameworks section. So see how yep. So those 3 are meant to enable packages that don't explicitly target that new TFM, Net Core App 1.0, to
Hmm.
still be installed.
So
Now
this is
what
a
it means-
compatibility thing.
JSON.NET 7 doesn't target any of those. That's
Oh.
what it's complaining about.
So somehow I didn't get I didn't get
But it
8.
should be JSON.NET 8. That's
Any
what-
idea why that happened?
Well, it's probably because one of the packages in the graph of packages that this project is
Right.
pulling in is incorrectly pulling in or requesting JSON.NET 7. And I
See,
believe
look,
was
that
an error
says-
last week.
This one here,
it
the
works on
tooling.
my machine.
It works
so-
on mine too.
So what's interesting, this is the log file.
Yes,
There's 8.
yes.
Seeing someone wants it.
Well, that's Razor tooling saying it wants 8, but which should lift everyone to 8. I'm not quite sure.
There- up there it
There was
is.
a 7 in there as well.
Hang on. How do I go back?
There you go.
.NET project
Yeah, so
model,
I think that was a known issue that it has been addressed.
known as this time.
Yeah, but I didn't get this when I did it yesterday.
Me either.
So check your log files.
I don't know if I'm on that. Let's see what's in there.
But you are actually showing a restore error, which
Interesting.
is interesting. But what I saw yesterday, if you save that project now and you close the project
So
and reopen it,
then it works. So why is that?
what's that?
That's exactly what happened. See, it says package restore failed. I'm on web application 12.
Right, and then you close it.
I close it, I open it, and it works. That's concerning.
So, no, and
It's confusing as a user.
of course, but this build is full of bugs.
No,
and that's
totally
not
get
gonna
that.
be-
I'm
so
not
The
saying
reason
it's
is that the operation of creating a new project, different things happen in Visual Studio versus when you open a project,
Isn't that? Oh, interesting.
right? Because we optimize the project creation workflow
Okay.
to ensure that we, for example, don't go to NuGet.org to download packages.
Right, you wanna
We know
use
we have
local
them in a
stuff.
separate location,
Okay.
right? Whereas when you open, we just assume it's an existing project, obviously, and we don't apply that logic. And so there are often bugs when we're building these type of things, where
I
we
see.
have things that appear in file that don't appear in
So
file.
that issue there where you said 7 didn't get lifted to 8
Right,
should have happened automatically.
should have happened automatically.
So it's a file new versus file open bug.
Correct, but it still means that package still shouldn't be targeting 7. We should make
Yeah, of
all
course
the
not.
packages
Of
that
course
we should be targeting the same versions, and that will
I
be
see.
fixed.
Cool. So then now I should be able to go into startup or maybe program and put in a breakpoint.
I think you ought to talk about a couple of the differences here. Like nobody's probably seen the static main before.
Yeah, this is
That's
new.
that's new because now you can see this is actually a console application. This is not a magic entry point anymore. Now the entry point is explicit in the project.
Right. So a web app, it's not web application 12.dll that then has some magic host that opens it up.
Well, it is actually, but the magic host now is .NET.exe, which is the same host that you'll get for a
And
.NET
.NET.exe
console
looks for public static void main for everything.
Correct.
Public static void main is the entry point.
Is
Is
the
the entry point. So
For .NET applications.
when the CLR is loaded, .NET.exe is native, and then
Mm-hmm.
it boots the core CLR. It calls a native API in the core CLR saying, here is the managed entry point.
So
And it
if
has to be
I-
a static void
If
main
I
in that.
compile this, is it going to be web application 12.exe?
No, it'll be .dll.
But it's a DLL with a public static void main.
Correct, which
And
you've
if
always
I-
been able to
But if
do.
I renamed it .exe,
It wouldn't run.
It wouldn't run.
No, because remember, .exes in Windows are special, and they rely on Windows understanding what the .NET framework is in order to have Windows bootstrap the CLR for you.
Okay.
In the world of .NET Core, it's not a Windows component anymore, so that magic doesn't really exist.
Okay.
We could potentially make a self-bootstrapping exe when you're on Windows, but it wouldn't really work on other platforms.
We talked
We
about
have
this
talked
thing,
about doing that.
bolting on a loader on the
Yeah.
beginning of the
So
assembly.
wouldn't
that would actually-
another way, and I'm not trying to architect it, I'm just brainstorming here, I'm talking. Wouldn't another way be to like name .NET.exe, copy it locally,
So
call it web application 12, hit execute it, and then say, oh,
So
look.
we had that in early builds. The reason we don't have that anymore is that then makes the build output and the publish output platform specific.
Ah,
So what we want, this is what we call a portable application. That is-
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a .NET app. When I
Okay.
compile it and publish it, I can take that
so I
publish
can
output,
literally take
put it
this
on a
one.
Mac, and it
Okay.
will run because you already have .NET.exe installed on your
So
Mac.
to be clear, when I compile this, there's not like a bin folder and then a
There's a
Mac.
bin folder.
No, but for a Mac, for a Linux,
No.
for Windows,
There's
it's,
one.
I can literally take the exact same
Correct.
binary executables and run them.
As Damien said, a portable app.
Right.
a
So what
portable
you
app.
will see in the output of this application, because it's ASP.NET, and we have native components that run our web server, PWV,
Yeah,
in the output folder, there'll be subfolders that are named after platforms. Now, which means that when you go over to a Mac and you .NET.exe your application,
right.
the .NET.exe on Mac knows how to find required native components for this application in the appropriate subfolders. Now, it's not on build output. Build output,
So
there's a deps file. You'll see there's a special file there,
Yeah.
thing.json. That contains all the information about what dependencies this particular application needs so that .NET.exe can load them. When you publish the application, you now have a much bigger output.
Right.
But you still
you
don't
need.
have .NET because this is a portable application. It requires .NET to already be installed on the
In a
other
shared.
machine.
So is that
we call
like
a shared
is
framework.
that like the Java style where it's like Java foo.jar?
Or Node or anything like that. Now, we still have the capability of publishing what we call a standalone application, but at that point, you have to tell us what platform you want to run on because we need to put in
So you
the
can't be
correct
both
exit.
standalone and
You cannot be both standalone and portable because you would then not be portable.
If you choose to be
or not
standalone, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to choose what you want to be standalone on.
or you go and hack something
Or you
together
run it
where you
multiple
make a
times.
whatever.cmd for Windows that calls .NET and a
Right.
whatever.shush
Yep.
for Linux.
Right.
Okay.
And we talked about all those things, and this is what we've landed on for this version, is that by default, things are portable,
Mhm.
and then you have the option of making an app standalone, and then over time, we're looking to refine the experience such that you can take any portable application and with one command line, publish it as standalone. You
Yeah.
can't do that right now
Yeah.
because the moving
It'd be
parts.
nice to have a
We
portable
want to be
app,
able to do that.
put it on a USB key and go off in the world.
So we have that right now.
Yeah.
What we don't have is the ability to in order to make a standalone app, you have to actually change your project JSON right now. Which means the workflow
I
from
see.
taking my portable app and making a
It's
standalone
not
one is a
there.
little cumbersome.
Yeah.
We'd like to make that better in the future.
Okay.
So obviously another change you might want to show is Project JSON because it's going to have some new concepts.
We'll talk about that. Before I do that, use Kestrel, use IIS integration.
Right, and so as of Beta 8, this is no change. This is from the exact same thing we did in Beta 8. Kestrel is always the web server for your ASP.NET Core application, unless you choose Web Listener or another ASP.NET Core server, and it's running in your process. So when you start the process that is your application, it starts a port and can accept TCP connections and then do HTTP. This project by default is set up to be able to also run behind IIS, which is what will happen when you hit F5.
Right.
So you get reverse proxy, effectively. That line, the use IIS integration, takes all the information that's flowed from IIS into your process and sort of hooks it all up in your application to make it work. That includes what port does IIS want you to listen on?
Right.
Was it terminated as HTTPS in IIS and flow that information across? Was Windows auth used in IIS and flow the Windows principal across into the application so you still have an identity inside the application for the user? And other things like that.
How is that passed?
It's passed a variety of ways.
Some would be
It's passed
environment variables.
environment variables. Because I'm actually starting the process, it can inject Windows handles. And so the Windows principles flow across. And so this is the only line in the app that talks about IIS. We did some work. It used to be that the IIS
And it's
showed
totally
up,
optional and uses iWebHost Builder.
and it no ops if you run this on a Mac.
And if you wanted to enable or use Apache integration or
You could do a
whatever,
very
you
similar
could
thing.
do that.
Yep, absolutely.
That's cool.
And you can still have them both and have them no op, just light up when they are there.
on the right platform.
Cool. Are we still online? Like, are we still working?
Okay, thank you for online. Yep, live.
Because we already did that last meeting.
Okay,
So I think
great.
I'll just check for a connection right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
It's getting busy in here.
It is getting busy, so we gotta
You want to shut down?
hurry up. We're in the speaker room. The speakers are.
Session's supposed to just let out.
All right, we gotta hurry. So what's new here in, let me see. I got secrets ID, compilation options, dependencies. What's going on with that dependency? I've not seen one with this stuff.
So
Razor
type
tooling.
build we've had for a while. It simply means that I need this dependency when I'm compiling, but I don't need it when the app is published. So it suppresses that dependency from being.
I see.
copied
So
and
it doesn't
published.
carry that along.
Correct.
It doesn't, like I used to have T4 dependencies and stuff that I
Right.
really didn't need to
Correct.
go into
It's
production.
not a runtime dependency, it's just a build dependency.
Okay, that's cool. And then what's the platform
So
dependency?
this is the thing, we talked about portable just before. This
Right.
is what represents what's installed on the server where you're going to run this application after it's published. So again, the type platform instructs the publish sort of pipeline to say, don't copy everything that this package references into my publish output. This is how we make our .NET Core portable apps, not 10 megabytes, but instead, not 30 or 40 megabytes, but instead 10 megabytes.
Okay, and I see browser link again.
So let's
So
talk about
browser
this
links
platform
coming
thing
too.
before. I was playing with the CLI one day and I was able to remove that.
Yes.
And when I did, my app blew up inside.
Correct.
Because now the framework, instead of using the shared framework on the machine, it copied the contents of the framework in directly into my application.
Right.
And I built a standalone application.
And if I go to C
Should it be
program
standalone or
files.
something? I mean, it feels to me like it really controls whether I build a standalone app
Yeah,
or
why
I
isn't it
build
type
a.
shared?
So we debated a whole bunch of different names. Platform is what we landed on, given the fact that frameworks is already overloaded and runtimes is already overloaded, and shared means what? A shared package? I mean, this is a instruction to NuGet ultimately, because it's a type for the package reference. So at this point, we decided that declaring a package reference as a platform was what made sense, and you can only have one per project.
Okay, hang
Right.
on. This is a list of dependencies.
Right, these are just
Let me
packages.
think about
right?
this. This is a list of dependencies. That is a build dependency, and this is a dependency on a
Well,
platform.
see, this Microsoft netcore.app is a meta package, right?
It's a meta package.
And
Yeah,
a meta
yeah.
package of all the packages that would be installed on the machine in a
Correct.
shared framework case. And so this basically says my app doesn't need those things
Right.
because we expect them to be installed on the machine. So if you go to NuGet and look at this package name, anything included in that will not need to be pulled into the app.
Right, so it basically pivots a meta package into, rather than being something in your graph that will just be copied over as normal, it gets excluded or trimmed from the graph on the way out when you publish, and it's assumed it's going to be there on the other side in the form of a shared
Right.
runtime or a shared platform install.
So this is a version number.
Correct.
What is these? Netcore app with the numbers they don't line up at all.
I don't know why you've got.
I've
So
got
you're
the
looking-
one that you gave me, but this is
He
one of these.
installed
One
the
of these.
CLI
hang on.
before he
Oh,
did
I see.
this.
One is the
So he
CLI.
has-
Let me explain. One is the CLI I installed in the last week's stand-up.
Mhm.
The other, that's the higher number.
Yep.
The lower number is the one I got from the build yesterday.
Okay.
From Hunter.
Yep,
But regardless of that makes sense. It's fine. I
they
got
should line up.
No, but this number
They should.
they should.
They should.
So that's a bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So what
we know
would
we have installer bugs, and so I'm going to guess
Yeah.
a lot of customers yesterday when they tried this, it did not install the.
No,
the
that's not an installer bug. You have the same numbers on yours. The numbers just aren't the same.
No, but I'm saying we have a bug where we know it did not copy the right version of stuff in there.
Oh, okay.
This would be a packaging issue. So as in like,
But my point is that it works fine.
yeah, so the reason it works, which is what I was going to get to,
Looks
was
like a big
because the .NET.exe host
Yeah.
has a roll forward policy for pre-release tags.
I
So
see.
if the app says, I need you to boot on 100 RC2 24008, and it says, well, I don't have that, but I do have RC2 dash some higher number, it will
2392.
automatically select that for you.
Interesting. So look at this. Hunter, his does line up.
Mine
He's
does.
got 002392, which is this one.
Yep.
The difference is mine has a number 3 in front of it randomly. So the bug isn't the numbers don't line up.
Now you're both looking in different places.
Are we
Oh,
looking
he's
at-
an
where's he
he's
looking
an
at?
SDK. What are you doing, Hunter? What's wrong with you?
You in share?
Yeah,
shared
SDK is
one.
fine. Go to shared.
Here you go.
Yeah, you get the bug. So there's a
Yeah.
3 in front of it.
It's just, I think it's just a
It's just a
packaging
numbering
issue.
thing.
Or a
Okay.
template, it could actually just be a template issue.
Well,
Could be
the other question is that, so then from a templating perspective, this is looking for 240 whatever 8.
008. Yep.
But these numbers aren't even close to that number.
No, so, but remember, that's a build stamp. So that just changes, like goes up lots
Which
every day.
is a build stamp. This
The
or
very
that?
last part, 24008.
Right, but that's 24,000.
Mm-hmm.
These numbers.
Reset the numbers at one point.
Oh, you reset them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as I said before, though, I think this is just a template bug. The template hasn't been updated to point to the correct build that was packaged in the the tooling install.
But it works anyways because of roll
because
forward.
of roll forward. It
I
works.
see. I just
What
want
if
to
I
get
didn't
my
want to roll
brain.
forward? Is there a way? How do I specify that I don't want to roll forward?
Great question.
All right.
We're still
right.
figuring. That's part of the things we're still
Yeah,
figuring.
yeah,
All right.
But at some point, these numbers will all line up. Now, this stuff here, some people might say, well, wait a second, what's DNX doing in here? What are all these? That's to make existing stuff work for a little while?
Yeah, so you can see that the new TFM here that some people watching the GitHub would have seen these appear, Netcore App 1.0. That represents this project model, like this app model, .NET Core, .NET.exe,
Right.
running on top of a shared framework, which is the thing that's installed in the folder that
It's
you
the
just showed.
1.0 version of
That is
app model.
Netcore App 1.0, all right? Because this is .NET Core 1, that's what we're shipping, right? But there are no packages on NuGet.org that are targeting that
Right.
TFM yet, because we haven't released RC2
So then it
yet.
couldn't work.
So if you were to restore JSON.NET, we'd go, well, I can't restore JSON.NET because
Like it did?
Like it did.
Uh-huh.
Because it would go, it needs a lib folder inside of it that
I
has a
see.
DLL either for Netcore app
Or
or one
matches
of the
one of those.
TFMs.
So these are all lies?
These are all lies. This is the backdoor that lets you tell NuGet, ignore the TFM that you want, and then try these ones in this order.
Is this,
This is a point in time.
okay, so this, in my mind,
Yes.
this is just for my mind,
Yes.
right? It's like compatibility imports. It's a sham.
Basically.
This probably.
Once we have all the packages referencing
That'll go
Netcore
away.
App 1, we're
Right.
done.
So
then this goes away.
remember, behind the scenes, Net Core App 1.0 isn't a single unit. It derives.
All right, it's a
effectively-
meta package in his words.
Well, it's not a meta package. It's all the TFNs, whether they're Net 4.6 or whatever they are, they have fallback. So Net 4.6 will fall back to Net 4.5.2, which falls back to Net 4.5.1, which falls back to Net 4.5, right? Net Core App falls back to Net Standard 1.5, which you talked about today, and we talked about at Build. And then Net Standard 1.5 falls back to Net Standard 1.4 and 1.3, because they're all backwards compatible. And then the top of that chain is probably Net Standard 1.0. Net Standard 1.0 can't load anything else. It's the beginning of Net Standard.
Sure.
So we have to put these inputs in here to allow existing packages that we know probably will work.
So will these two go away?
Yes. So
And that one will probably stick around?
that one will stay around forever, but it won't exist in the templates.
I
in the
see.
inputs.
So this will go away.
Because that's a lie. Like that's actually
It is a
not
lie.
true.
It's a flat lie.
Yeah.
But these are old points in time.
So .NET 5.6
That's
is-
existing.
Yes.
This will go away and you can add it if you need it.
So Net Core App 1.0 will stay there, at least for RTM, but I have a
This
grand
part
vision.
here.
Yeah, I have a grand vision eventually that you won't need a project JSON at all by default until you do.
Yeah, like so
One
hello world wouldn't need a project.
So hello
Because I
world,
had
even
told
with a
you
web server.
how I
doesn't need it.
really wanted server.cs to
Correct.
be a thing.
Yes, we want
And I
that.
want to go pound our,
Well, now you're going off on a
hashtag-
whole different tangent by changing C#.
No,
That's
and
fine.
I'm not. Roslyn includes that
He and I-
today.
That's CSX or C
No.
scripting.
But Roslyn has pound R built in.
It does, but it's not part, my understanding is it's not part of the standard C# language. It's part of the extensions that Roslyn includes, which are the C#
Okay, then we'll call
scripting
it
things.
server.csx.
Maybe. So that's
how
part of
would
the
you-
web
how would you
pages
have a
thing that we
reference
talked
then?
about. Huh?
If you don't have a project JSON.
You don't
even
need
for
a project
website.
JSON to do.
He's saying don't have to include these things until you need them. There are points
So
in time when you
I'm
need some.
wondering, how would one have a web?
Because the standard library or Net Core App, which would be the standard one that you get,
It's free. It's
is
just a
free
using system.
and it would include a web server,
Scandalous.
right? So just like when
Would it
Go,
include regular expressions?
yes, just like Go has a standard library that
Yeah,
includes
yeah,
a bunch of
yeah,
useful
okay.
stuff. You don't
We're
have
back
to
to
tell
standard
it, you
libraries.
just get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's talk about
So
something else.
that would, yeah, obviate the need.
And then imagine you did need something extra, you would say .NET
Then you
space
have a project.
dependency space install.
But that
and
thing
then
I showed you a while back, that React.js thing, where it's like, we could totally do that, server.cs.
Could. We can do anything, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But in your grand vision, we could do that.
Even before that, I would like to make a lot of this cred go away too. I just want to reference
So
ASP.NET.
an example that you make,
So I
in the presentation earlier, you go and you add diagnostics and then you add static files. And some people were kind of like, I don't know, how many things you got to add? Like 50 things to have a basic web app?
well, the
You should
challenge-
be able to add some meta package of Microsoft.ASP.NET, whatever, and it adds the 10 ones that you need, the basic.
Just say you want ASP.NET 1.0, ASP.NET Core 1.0.
The basics.
That's what I want. I want to be able to make it very simple. You don't have to know all this.
Damien's wincing though.
So the only thing, there's a push and pull going on
There's
here,
some.
right? Because we just spent the last 3 years telling everyone how modular ASP.NET Core is and how pay for play it is.
No, we
And
don't
now we're
want to
saying
take.
we want a package that includes the
No, no.
entire stack.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I want a moniker that represents the stuff that we
I
want.
understand. And we have
Because
multiple.
I feel like we've got this amazing kind of like the return of the BCL.
Yep.
Because the BCL was a good time. Like, let me show you what we showed in the presentation today. The BCL, there was times, I remember like sitting down and learning the BCL and saying, okay, now I know everything about .NET and I can run anything, right? So if we go to this new world where Hunter's doing this, one standard library,
Mhm.
one standard library right now is like, 40
No,
NuGet
no,
packages.
it's not. So that's the,
Okay.
you're misinformed there.
So then hook me up.
The standard library is a single meta package that you can bring in.
That's what I want. So it is a meta package.
It is.
What's
We
called?
even talked about that earlier as
One
part
thing.
of the shared framework. Is
Right.
that
And so you will be able to do that.
Okay, good. So then
It's
that
just
would,
that the standard library isn't very big right now. So over
there you
time,
go. So
right,
we are on the same.
That's why we're saying this is a long.
point in time. This is
Gotcha.
we talked about a journey today, not a we're not going to be there day one.
Cool. All right, and then we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Tools, .NET Code Generator. Oh, that's cool. I like having tools, its own thing.
Mhm.
Tools. Content, what's
That
not?
property name is changing. It
This
represents
is?
parts of your app.
What's that gonna be called?
It'll be in publish include. So it says these are parts of my app that I need to include in the output, right? Because it's not source code.
I see,
It's not
versus
this or
exclude.
that, right? And
I
so we
see.
don't just want to like blindly copy everything.
And then
in the
this is
output folder.
interesting. These are like a little, run this.
We've
run
had
this.
that, with the DNX had that, and that's come across to
Yeah.
the .NET Core.
And that's
as well.
new.
So that's new. That's how we prepare your application to run on IIS when you publish it.
Yeah.
And we basically generate your web.config file or modify the one that's there to enable the ASP.NET Core module and a bunch of other things.
Cool. And then is there yet, or is there any thought about there being a DNVM list equivalent?
Yes, so the .NET CLI itself will very likely end up with something like that. It doesn't exist right now. It's out of scope for RC2. I think Fowler even like pseudo spec'd out a complete thing, which is .NET space runtimes, and then make a list, and it would give you all the runtimes. You would then be able to install a new runtime. So .NET .exe basically replaces DNU, DNX, and DNVM. It's a driver. It understands different SDK versions already. It understands different runtimes already. It has all that logic. It's just that there's no command on it that lets you list them, that lets you install them.
I always use CLR as the example. And I always thought this is kind of cool. CLR showing you which versions of the framework are installed and which running executables.
So the challenge, obviously, is it's obviously not as simple as that, because CLR .NETs are installed on the machine.
Exactly.
This can be anywhere. .NET XE can be in any folder. So we need to come up with a scheme that
so
lets
it would
work
be shared.
dynamically.
The NVM list, in my mind, is really shared frameworks.
Well, we actually wanted to be better than that. We wanted to understand frameworks I have in my local folder, because anytime I actually compose bootstrap themselves by downloading a framework and putting them in the current folder. Then I want to understand stuff in the user profile, and then I want to understand stuff that's machine-wide. So we have like 3 well-known locations that we need to be able to reason about if we build a tool like that, and so that's why we're still sort of debating it.
Cool. I love that you did this whole thing in shorts.
Yeah.
Very stylish.
Thank you very much.
And you stuck around, even though you didn't need to.
I know, but you know,
Go to the beach.
They keep pulling me back in.
People.
Go to the beach, sir.
Go to the beach.
All right.
All right, we have to, I have a talk.
Yep.
Cool. Shiny, thank you.
I will zoom out backwards just by walking up through this door.
All right.
See you, demo.
So that was exciting. Cool. This whole help me out here, Hunter. This is the kind of arguments and stuff we have all the time.
All the time.
Except we recorded this one. And inevitably, Damien says, that's where you're misinformed. That's actually my ringtone. So,
or actually, if
Damien calls me and my phone's
actually,
like, that's
Damien,
where you're misinformed.
Damien says you're misinformed because David Feller, he just goes, you're wrong.
What does David say?
David says you're wrong. He goes, it didn't work that way, or you're wrong.
I should get
That's 100% wrong.
Yes, he does. That's 100%. I've heard 100% wrong too.
I want a ringtone from Fowler that's like,
we should publish that. Actually,
you're 100% wrong.
We can have a button that says you're 100% wrong.
Totally misinformed. Yeah. Love it. All right, that's it. We're going to go to work trying to ship the thing. Right? Cool. Thank you all. Sorry there's no Q&A. You're all lovely people. And if you're just catching this live, don't feel bad. Some of you tweet that you feel bad that you missed it live. Go to YouTube, pretend that it's live, set your clock back on your computer and play it and pretend, because that's what I do. I don't think why people want to see it live. It's not that interesting. All right. Bye, everybody. Oh, Damien.
Yes.
Dramatic zoom out.
Oh, okay. I'm going to turn around.
What are you doing?
we should have Fowler
You're just
on one of these.
walking away. Oh.